up, beautiful people, internet? I'm Wesley.
I'm Steffi.
It's a West and
Steph.
Today, guys, reacting to the Rise of Bangtan, Chapter 14, Filter. Ooh, I don't feel like filter is almost ever a positive unless you're talking about like a water system. And even then, it's getting bad stuff out, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Adorable representative. That's really funny.
I get so excited for these. I always enjoy them so much. But then I get like emotionally kind of like, ooh, pensive or...
It leaves me with a lot of emotions. Let's just put it that way.
지금 고등학교 졸업식을 하고 있어요.
Whoa, we're jumping back in time.
I forgot JK was going to high school the whole time.
졸업식 때도 이제 형들이
Aww.
오네요. 브로드가 하는 일. 브로드가 하는 일. 방탄 설렌다니 왔어.
Aww. Did he like take? He never took classes. Like he was doing them remotely, right?
I think he actually went to high school.
정국을 축하하기 위해 방탄소년단의 member들 총출동! 남다른 팀워크를 과시했는데요.
방송하냐 왜? 지금 써놨어.
Did you see how he strutted into? He's like, I'm gonna look so cool at this graduation in front of all these high schoolers.
Jimin was in his like, I'm gonna waddle, not waddle, model.
Model walk.
Model walk. I turned model walk into waddle, which is like the exact opposite meaning. I mean, if you guys ever do that, like I've been doing that a lot recently, where I accidentally mix two words. It's horrible.
Done it my whole life.
같은 학교의 방탄소년단의 정국도
All
졸업을
the girls.
받았는데요.
저희 제가 있습니다.
확인해봐야겠죠? 졸업 사진에서도 빛나는 외모! 와우!
Wow.
되게 어색했는데 사진 찍을 때 사진에는 없는 게 또 아쉽네요.
Aww.
교복 입고 이제 입학식 했을 때가 되게 엊그제 같은데
That's a super
이렇게
distinctive
벌써
uniform.
졸업을
Yeah.
하게 돼서 되게 기분이 좋기도 하고 되게
It looks almost
아쉽기도
military.
한데 아무튼
With
앞으로 더 책임감 있는 행동으로 앞으로 열심히 어른처럼 살아보겠습니다.
How? You see that like on the other side it's just girls.
하고 저요? 지금요? 형들이랑 그때 입학식에 짜장면 먹었거든요. 그래서 지금 끝나고 짜장면 먹어요.
Imagine having a press conference for your graduation, guys.
시상식을
That'd be
방문하는
insane.
엄청난 취재진이 모였습니다. 많은 사람들의 축하를 받은 정국. 입가에 미소가 떠나지 않네요.
여기 있어. 마이크 진짜 커.
와.
대박이지?
둘, 셋, 와.
자, 안녕하세요. 방탄소년단입니다. 졸업해서 형들이 어떤 소감을?
저희가 여기서 전국 입학식도 지켜봤는데 이렇게 졸업식까지 지켜볼 줄 몰랐네요. 우리 전국이 정말 3년 동안 잘 커줘서 너무 고맙고 그리고 전국이 형이 졸업식 가줬으니까 너도 내 졸업식 와야 돼.
그쵸?
새 앨범 윈스외전으로 빌보드 261위를 기록하며 한국 가수 최초로 4연속 진입
Yeah,
기록을
we're
세운
already at Wings era.
I
Like,
didn't
that's-
realize that JK's graduation was so far into...
Into it. I thought it was like maybe a year or two into it.
I thought we were doing a flashback. I literally said, "Oh, we're flashing back."
No, like he's been doing high school this whole time.
That's
how.
insane.
I don't understand.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it was remote classes. It's also crazy when they say like we didn't know we'd be here because they didn't know.
They didn't know.
They didn't know that the group would even still exist.
Yeah.
By the time JK graduated, which is wild.
Yeah.
아 정말 이게 또 교복을 이제 드디어 벗네요. 저
졸업했는데 뭐 가지고 싶은 거 있어요? 형이 뭐 사줄 수 있어요?
아 진짜요?
그럼요.
오니까 딱 아파트 딱 한 집.
진짜 맘먹고
여기 그래 여기 기억이 나.
It's the same restaurant. That's cool.
야 진짜 똑같은데? 진짜.
Aww.
그거
It's
나
a
이렇게 생겼어.
Korean high school, 3 years, 4 years.
I always assume 4 years just because I think of U.S. high school.
도와줄게.
I have no idea.
고가기.
크게 문자로 하나 날라오겠다. 야.
고등학교 졸업했습니다. 입학식 하고 이제 졸업식 할 때 짜장면 먹잖아요.
그쵸.
근데 졸업식 날 계산한 짜장면 값 얼마나 났을 것 같아요? 아 보에 쌌어요.
Looks so different glasses.
지금 한 4만 원?
35?
804 US dollars?
스탑! 잠시만요.
네.
다음 사진 속에
804 US dollars?
I mean, I knew 35 was going to be too little for seven growing boys, but 805? 805
For black
is-
bean noodles?
Well, then definitely that wasn't just black bean noodles,
no,
right?
no.
There's no way. I don't think you get a bill that big, like unless there's
That's a lot of money.
그때소년단 멤버는
dry beers or something.
달래? 사진 무용 아니야 무용? 이 사진
Maybe J-Hope? Oh, is it Jimin?
This is a weird set. It's trippy.
예전에 흉대무용을
어.
주민에게 가르쳤던 코아무용 댄스 학원 원장 김도경입니다.
She has very like reassuring energy.
항상 지민이 건강 챙기고 지민이
Jiminy.
파이팅!
Aww.
네, 이번 공연의 최대 문제곡에서 최대 기대곡으로 다시
Problematic.
반갑습니다. 지민입니다. 제 개인곡이 생각보다 엄청 부담스러운 부분들이 많아서 라이브를 할 때는 좀 더 걱정을 하는 것 같아요. 부담스러운 것들이 많아서.
He seems nervous. Even there.
그렇게 하면 또 하게 되면 진짜 라이브하기 편할 텐데.
They could just drop a song by half a key. I like, how do you do that on the fly?
안타깝죠. 지민이 항상 안타까워요. 제가 지민이 처음 들어왔을 때 노래 못해서 막 예전에 방송하고 막 울고 막 그랬거든요. 자기가 막 분했나 봐요. 근데 지민이가 느끼는 게 어떤 감정인지는 잘 알 것 같아요. 무대 서는 사람으로서 무대 망치면 그만큼 분한 게 없죠.
I've never once thought Jimin's ever done a bad job at
자신감이
anything.
자꾸
And
떨어지게
we've watched a lot
되니까
of BTS.
걱정을 많이 하게 되니까 이 되게 다운이 됐을 때 이거에 저는 제일 예민한 것 같아서 이렇게 안 좋은 생각을 하게 되면 한도 끝 없이 안 좋은 생각을 해요.
내게 말해 너의 달콤한 미소 내게 말해 속삭이듯 내 귓가에 말해
일을도 생각하면서 제 얘기를 먼저 했었거든요.
네.
그 얘기를
Well, it's kind of the same writing style
내
in different
기억을
solo albums
생각하면서
too.
Yeah.
같이 노래를 만들었었어요.
내게서 떠나줘 내게서 떠나줘
그때는 참 힘들어하기도 했었고 연습실에 항상 가서 살아야지라는 생각이 많았었어요.
지민이 형 같은 경우에는 솔직히 모든 연습생 이때까지 거쳐간 연습생들 중에 아마 제일 열심히 했을 거예요. 진짜.
연습생 생활을 정말 짧겠는데 한 8번 정도 잘릴 뻔했죠.
심지어 여기 이제 연습생으로 발탁된 뒤에 춤을 잘 못 춰서 이제 위험할 수
He's
있는
a bad dancer.
무슨 얘기야? 지금 부산예고 현대무용과 수석 입학으로 돼 있어.
Yes, how's that possible?
매번 무대할 때마다 그렇게 아쉬워하거든요. 이 곡을 도대체 어떻게 써야 될지 모르겠다 이러면서 그 부분을 보면 되게 안타깝기도 하죠.
Do you remember the docuseries? Whoa.
This performance is great.
So cool.
저는 굉장히 지민이에 대한 리스펙이 있어요. 아주 저희 팀 멤버 중에서 가장 어떻게 보면 어른.
That was a funny cut.
행복함의 DNA.
그때도 참 멋있어지고 싶다라고 생각하면서 연습을 했는데 지금도 그렇게 하고 있는 거 보면 아직 한참 멀은 것 같다. 열심히 해야지.
사실 연습생 때 그리고 사실 데뷔 한참 했을 때만 해도 정말 항상 거짓 속에 빠져 있었고 사실은 그렇지가 않은데 늘 원인을 나에게 두고 막 잘못을 뭐랄까 내가 못한 것, 내가 부족한 것만 생각하고 남들은 그렇게 얘기하지 않아도 항상 나쁜 것은 다 나에게 돌렸다.
Poor
그
Jimin, he
즐거움을
just needs a
까먹고
hug.
공연을 하고 있었던 것 같아요. 아, 내가 왜 무대를 이때까지 하고 싶어 했는가를 이제야 다시 떠올리고 하고 있는 중인 것 같아요.
Wow, that
막연하게
was
잘하고
sick.
싶다가 아닌 무대에 서보지 않은 사람은 모르는 그 기분을 왜 이제까지 몰랐는가를 이제 다시 생각을 하고 있는 것 같아요.
It makes me so frustrated that it was almost cut so many times.
Whoa.
This is trippy. See how the lyrics go with exactly what they're talking about in his
Yeah.
own mental state?
It's so well edited. I
또 기다려주는 사람들이 있으니까 그래서 더 해야지 잘해야지 하면서 긴 여정이 될 거잖아요. 그 여정이 끝나고 나면 무언가가 있기를 바라면서 저도 투어를 하는 것 같아요. 물론 끝나고 났을 때를 생각하면서 하는 콘서트는 아니지만 내가 더 나은 내가 있기를 바라면서 하는 것도 있는 것 같긴 해요.
That was sick.
I remember when we went through the docu-series, the first two, Jimin was so hard on himself.
Yes.
And out of
every
all the
time.
men, it was always Jimin and JK were the perfectionists.
Yes.
But I don't know why. I don't know if I can articulate it, but JK's perfectionism seemed like it manifested in like pretty healthy.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, if something goes wrong, it's that you push yourself too hard.
Yeah.
But it felt like he was able to detach his sense of self-worth from his performance.
Yeah.
And try to keep on working on the performance.
Ah,
and
that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get the same
Yeah,
sense?
JK was like, oh, it's not good enough, it's not good enough. I'm going to just try harder. But he wasn't like, I'm not. He didn't internalize it like, I'm a
Yeah.
bad person. I shouldn't be here.
Yeah,
And
he's-
but I also think that goes, like, in a way, it's not Jimin's fault because he's always going to have that hanging over his head. Like, I was the last member of
Yeah.
the group. I was almost cut 8 times. JK was always chosen every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's always there in the back of Jimin's head.
But
And that's really probably, like, I think you're right. It's
It's like it's like when JK has a performance that he wasn't satisfied with, it's a performance he wasn't satisfied with that he's going to work on external to himself.
Yeah.
Whereas in this era, when Jimin was frustrated, it seemed like he was frustrated with himself, not
Yeah.
frustrated with the performance exclusively.
Yes.
Did that make sense?
Yes.
And then I remember it was so hard, and like we got a picture of it here,
Mhm.
but I remember that the interviews were so frustrating because you could tell that Jimin was truly like upset
Yeah.
with himself.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad and thankful that, like, so I guess spoilers, we're jumping further ahead in the story,
Mm-hmm.
that he seems to have gotten so much more, like, resilient or, I don't know what you would say, confident, like,
In himself.
in himself.
Believing in
Because
himself.
those types of interviews stopped.
Yes.
Which I'm so thankful for. And,
Yeah.
and even if Jim was like, oh, I wish I could have done better.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, I wish I was better.
Yeah.
It was like, I wish I did better.
At this
I wish my skills were increased, but it wasn't like, I wish I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think
It's
it
a
was
difference.
it was really cool seeing that metamorphosis.
Mhm.
I'm glad. I just wanted to figure out
Yeah.
because I was trying to figure out.
There's a delineation.
There
that
was
you're
a
right.
delineation,
Yeah.
right? Well, I bet that's part of the reason that Jimin pushed himself so hard because it was so intertwined with his sense of self.
아니야 망하지 않았어. 그대로 그 의미 넣었어. 이상한 것 때문에 그냥 망하지 않았어.
저 보컬을 그래도 간간히 체크해 주신 선생님이 계신데 이번에 윙지 콘서트를 보셨었거든요. 그때보다는 훨씬 많이 늘었다고 알아서 천천히 늘어가고 있으니까 걱정하지 말라고 하셔서 아 그래 뭐 한 번 해서 잘할 거면 다 하지라는 생각이 들어서 천천히 하자라는 생각이 다시 한 번 든 것 같아요.
I remember that we either in the docu-series, I can't remember where because we've had read so much content or if it was one of your guys' comments, but I remember that Jimin got criticized as well, like in social media, for his vocals.
Really?
Early on in their career.
Yeah,
I remember,
I think you're right.
and I'm sure that also like is gonna, that's gonna stick in your brain, right? Where you're like, oh, this is something that I got criticized for, whether it's rightly or wrongly or whatever.
Yeah.
That's gonna stick in your head, and that's gonna be like a chink in your armor that's always gonna let stuff through, you know?
Yeah. It's also interesting to me because I feel like you have to take in mind the style of the music that he's trying to sing and the expectations surrounding it. I think are slightly different in South Korea for what a good singer is, because I think they want more flawlessness out of their singing. So like for me, if your voice cracks like and you put a lot of passion into a note,
it makes it better.
It makes it better. It makes it more real, more human, especially in a conference, right? Because you're like, it's not about hitting the note perfectly. It's about like the emotion and the feeling. And there's a lot of singers that crack their voices almost intentionally when they're singing to evoke that emotion. So it's just interesting because he has such a high bar, but he's aiming for a perfect voice when that's not necessarily even what needs to be done, you know?
But I think it's also like I don't know, I wonder if it's a difference in culture or if it's just a difference in that, like, if you have a group of people that are actively like trying to hate on you or actively looking for things to attack you with, then that would just be something that would be quite easy for them to attack, right? So if you're trying to like protect yourself from that type of an attack, that would probably play into it, yeah?
Yeah.
자기는 네 목소리가 되게 좋다.
칭찬받았네 나.
I remember seeing this out of context before, this clip.
Yeah.
And it hits home so much more because now I understand Suga better. I'm like, Suga doesn't just give away compliments.
Yeah, and now he was saying it because he could see that Jimin was upset.
And Jimin
It's very
needs it.
pragmatic too, though. Like, this is how I feel. Jimin's voice was the first one of BTS that I was able to pick out.
Yeah.
Which isn't saying that much because its range is so much higher, and it's like, at least for me, I have an easier time picking out high notes in a song just generally.
Yeah.
But that was one of the first things where I was like, oh, there's Jimin. Oh, I love Jimin's parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very early when we were
he
listening.
was the very first thing.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a Suga in their life.
Pragmatic, grounded.
세월에 해가지고 열심히 가사도 써주고. 아, 진짜 관심이 없더라고요.
나는 열심히 했다고요.
걔는 노래 해야 돼. 이러면서.
도착했습니다.
I love ARMY, but it's also terrifying when you have that many and it feels unexpected.
Oh, New Jersey.
안녕하세요 여러분들. 뉴요커 민윤기입니다. 지금 미국 들어온 지 3일째인데 뭐 시카고도 남아있고 LA도 남아있고, 그러니까 막 해외 나가면 막 그러니까 부모님의 마음으로 막 너무 걱정되시겠지만 나름 재밌어요. 이렇게 투어하는 거 굉장히 뭐 음식도 맛있고 또 공연을 하러 오니까 되게 다들 잘 해주시고 걱정 안 하셔도 됩니다.
아무래도 이제 공연을 계속 하다 보니까
Something I've noticed is that they wear a lot of like hoods and hats low on their face, so they'll put their bangs on their face. I bet it's because there's so many people around all the time. It's like, I'm gonna get privacy like here because there's no other way for me to get that privacy.
For me, this is a word Steffi taught me from her Instagram vernacular. Overstimulated.
Yeah.
I have made a rule that I'm not allowed to buy or wear hoodies anymore because when I started to feel overstimulated, I would literally just put my hood up, so I would have like less stimuli coming in, but then I would not ever want to take it down.
And he would just
I
like
would just want to do this all the time.
You're fine. He's an extrovert. He survives. But he would do that, and then he'd walk around like he's mad. And when we had our friends living with us, we'd all be like, "Oh, Wes has got his hood up. Doesn't want to be talked
But I
to."
can't imagine like what it would be when you how would you say it? Like, it's just difficult to go about your daily life.
Yeah.
Or even that I sometimes, when our friends lived with us, it was just 4 people in the house. It's not that's not very much at all.
Yeah.
Like how sometimes difficult it felt to just go through when you wanted some alone time.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine when like your normal day is you've got your 6 other members who you love, but sometimes you just like my mom was staying with us and I love my mom so much, but it's like, oh, I get less alone time now.
Yes.
And as
one other person adds a lot less alone
and it's my
time.
mother, you know? So then you have like 6 other people and then you have all of staff that's with you, right? Consistently and constantly. You would just get so few
You need that.
so few moments of just like me time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can take what you can get.
체력적으로 힘든 거는 그래도 없지 않아 있는 것 같아요. 체력적으로 안 힘들다면 되게 거짓말일 것 같아요.
지쳐 있어도 모든 사람이 다 지쳐 있는 거랑 이렇게 두어 사람이 좀 이렇게 활기를 좀 불어 넣어 주면은 차이가 크잖아요.
뭐 그런 생각도 해요. 아 진짜 빨리 끝났으면 좋겠다. 더 빨리 끝났으면 좋겠다. 빨리 끝나고 좀 쉬었으면 좋겠다. 근데 이게 반복되다 보면 언젠가는 하고 싶어서 못 할 때가 올 거란 말이죠.
Acoustic album.
야 이거 어쿠스틱 버전 내면
아씨 손가락이 마트니가 가서 안 불러. 가자 리허설 가자.
Whoa, Arm had a Fallout Boy champion remix? I didn't know that. That's so sick.
The phenomenally popular boy band BTS.
The hottest K-pop group on the planet.
Competing with artists such as Lana Del Rey, Ed Sheeran, and more.
You're not just a K-pop phenomenon, you're now getting worldwide recognition.
You actually sing in Korean, but that's not stopping America from falling in love with you. You guys are touring and it's sold out, right?
Back with the madness, I'm a champion of the people who don't believe in champions. I got nothing but dreams inside.
Stephanie loves Fallout Boy.
We write and produce our music ourselves, and we're talking about the young people's lives. I think there is a specific contemporary characteristic between all the young people in the world, and thanks to our fans, they translate our lyrics and our interviews into their languages, and that's how could they resonate and could feel the same feelings with us.
Have you ever felt how hard it is to be in hey body, to be living, to be breathing, not choosing a dead body?
이제 우리의 입에 맞추는 노래를 부르고
I love when they do the fan cams like this. Or maybe they're not called fan cams, but the cams of fans.
We need to learn
우리가 가장
Slender.
잘할 수 있는 것으로
Pick
그들의
one.
마음속에 닿은 것이다.
Fire.
바로 음악.
Mothers and fathers, what's wrong with the life of a passenger? If somebody gotta be, then I will be the messenger. I'm just too young, don't know what to believe in. But too young, you know not to believe in. I will stay, I will wait, and I fall like a king. Even though I can forever, ever be a king. I will marry this goddamn world, buy my home, and put myself a goddamn ring.
처음에 뭐 2,000석짜리 콘서트를 하던 때랑
Which is still a
지금
ton.
2만 석짜리 콘서트를 하는 때랑 한국 팬들이 생각해도 좀 이상한 일이지 않을까 싶어요. 진짜? 너네가 미국에서 만 몇천 명씩 파이쇼를 한다고? 근데 매진이라고? 보여줄게.
That's a nice cut. One of you guys said something wild, and I haven't told Wes of this yet. So you guys thought that there was like hints that JK might do a live show in New York City. Remember when he's on the side of the building? And it was like, oh, they were cleaning up the staff and they knew JK was in the city. And so they were like, oh, maybe he'll do a free show. We're going to fly out. And they flew out on the hunch that JK was them and their friends flew out. And just,
they were right.
They were right. They got to go.
This is the type of thing that, like, when you're right, you're a genius.
From LA to New York. It wasn't like they were flying.
Oh,
like
that's a lot of points and Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
That means it's far.
Flight.
That's a far flight.
Right?
That's sick because you were right.
That's like the best
so
story.
Sick. That's so cool.
I can't believe being like,
so
I'm gonna,
cool.
I'll just spend $500 on the off chance he might have a free concert.
Especially like being able to put the pieces together from LA.
Yes.
Because I get it, like, oh, if you're in New York, right?
Yeah.
You might be able to you see things. You might be able to see specific, like, it'd be so much easier.
30-minute heads up before the concert started.
Seriously?
Yes.
That's nuts.
So armies had to piece it together to figure out so they could plan to be
That's
there.
insane.
Is that
That's
wild?
so cool.
That is dedication.
Yeah. What a cool trip that would have been.
And tell me, what's next for BTS?
What's next for BTS?
Life doesn't get better than that.
Yeah. Opera album.
He could have been an opera singer.
Our goal right now is that completing and ending our tour really successfully and healthily.
공연장이 다시 커졌단 말이야. 원래 되게 작았잖아. 당황하지 말고 딱 안무는 딱 하던 대로 딱
I'd be
지켜주고.
really curious how likely they are to get sick in America versus other countries. Just because we're
Yeah, I'm curious
I'd be
too.
really curious if like somebody tracked out like which countries do they get sick in.
I don't remember a pattern where I thought when we were
One more
watching the
than the other?
docu-series. Granted, it's an edited docu-series,
I wasn't
right?
also looking for it.
But
so.
I don't remember thinking like, oh,
One
there's
was worse.
more in U.S. than not.
Because they got injuries, but that's different to me than like getting a sore throat, you know?
가지고 그 형이 파트 끝날 듣기 전까지는 무조건 1회 계셔야 돼요. 그게. 예.
나 거리 가늠이 안 가가지고.
가늠이 안 가는 게 아니라 1회는 어차피 가 있어야 돼.
1회는 섰지. 수기가 섰지.
사람들이 그렇게 알거든요. 뭔가 이렇게 되게 여과 없이 이야기하고 이렇게 생각하는데 굉장히 많이 가리고 제 약점들을 안 보여주려고 굉장히 많이 노력을 하거든요. 그런 걸 다 빼고 그냥 진짜 날 것의 모습을 좀 많이 보여주고 싶어요, 진짜.
힘든 것도 솔직히 짜증도 내고 하잖아. 우리끼리 막 하다가도 막 예민하게. 그래서 그런 것들도 좀 어느 정도 보여줘야 되지 않을까?
이게 형이 준비 타임이 너무
Oh, I don't like this argument. I remember it.
그러니까 제가 그때 엄청 조금 걸었었어요. 그때.
근데 나도 빨리 가는 거야. 나도 어쩔 수 없어. 근데 그거는 나도 전속력으로 뛰어가서 거기까지 가는데 자꾸 나보고 뭐라 하면 나보고 어떡하냐.
아니 그러니까 근데 제가 형한테 무대 쪽으로 이렇게 당한 게 이럴 짓이에요?
잠깐만.
저는 그래서 기분이 나쁘니까.
뭐 하는 거야 이게 지금? 응? 일단 알았어. 일단은 뭐 지금 갑자기 이걸 당장 해결할 수 없잖아. 나중에 좀 더 우리끼리 나중에 얘기를 하고.
우리끼리 이야기를 하자.
어.
지금 진짜 시간이 없어.
지금 들어가야 돼, 태영아. 형. 네. 지금 팬들은 지금 미치시 줄 서가지고 공연 보겠다고 기다리는데
Lined up
앞에서
for days.
아마추어처럼 그러지 말자, 다들.
아무것도 아닌 일인데 왜 싸웠을까부터 시작해서 아무것도 아닌 일인데 왜 화를 냈을까? 뭐 내가 싸우자고 말을 하려고 한 게 아니고 그냥 어떻게 무대적인 부분에서 난 진지하게 얘기를 했을 뿐인데 왜 이게 이렇게까지 일이 커지지? 라는 말이 저는 그게 제일 속상하고 억울했죠.
We reacted to this before when we watched the documentary series, and it hurts just as much the second time around. At this time, I'm like hiding my face. It's almost worse. The
I think
second
it hurts because it feels like such a argument that is so, like that's how I feel so exactly when we get into a bickering
we're like,
argument.
why are we fighting? This isn't a big deal.
And it's almost like it's really hard to just turn it off once you're in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I know that it makes me more frustrated that we're in an argument because I know that we don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like we need to be, but now I'm in it, and you know,
it's so many things like if there's something that you want the other person to do that's just slightly better, and you could sell them the same thing 10 different times.
or
but if
yeah.
if you tell them it when they're just not ready to receive, or they're already like feeling down on themselves, and then they see it as a criticism, it's like it doesn't matter because they're just not in the headspace to receive it. Like they're just not. And Jin obviously wasn't in the headspace to receive it. And there's also so many things like your tone, how you say it, right? Like the tone and when you say it. But if also at the same time, you're used to that. You're like, hey, like Wesley and I sometimes like we're about to go live on camera and we're like, hey, remember to do this or remember to do this, right? And you're just like giving little feedback and pointers.
And normally that would be something that you'd be like, oh, cool, thank you, right?
Yeah, like V's like, oh, hey, here's the feedback, here's a pointer. But Jin like was like, no, I don't want that right now. And that sometimes happens if one of us is just like not in the mood for it, right? And
or it's like you're already trying
sensitive.
or it's like I was ready to go, or you were ready to go, and you're like, well, we're going. Yeah. You know, and it's just. And then I don't know how to even describe it.
But I feel like this is the reason it's so real is because I think this happens to literally anybody. With any sort of
anything
relationship. With any sort of, especially working relationship, right? Where there's going to be little things because you have to give feedback. You have to be like, hey, here's something like you could do better.
It's incredibly difficult to
give constructive feedback and criticism, I think.
And I think people are more sensitive or less sensitive, but I feel like everybody has the types of little finicky things that would just sort of like.
I am very sensitive to criticism. I feel a little bit bad for Wesley. I cannot handle criticism well in any shape or form. I'm really bad at it. It's fine. I'm bad at it. I have something I need to work on is taking constructive criticism better. But it's okay. That's part of me. So maybe Jin has a similar temperament to me. I think also there's the aspect of like, hey, you're giving me a problem, but I don't have a solution I can implement right now. So now I just feel like you're like bitching at me. You know what I mean? And unless there's an act of like, hey, like, could you do this to solve the problem? And if, you know, that could also be inflammatory.
Something I found too is sometimes like it's just fighting it out, as stupid as that sounds, but sometimes that takes a long time.
Yeah, and they didn't have
They didn't have it, and that's something that's been a problem because, I mean, obviously we're not trying to compare what we do at all, but we can just try to like draw
the
parallels.
humanness of it.
Yeah, because like sometimes for us, right, to film we have our babysitter, and our babysitter is amazing. But she's only able to give us a certain number of hours a week. Yeah. So we need to get certain things done within those hours. Yeah. So then sometimes it's like, hey, and I think usually, if you're gonna say like, oh, you're not good at taking criticism, I feel like I'm bad about judging the timing, where it's like, hey, we need to get our filming done. Yeah. And we're both aware that we need to fit X amount of videos in Y amount of hours, right? Yeah. And so it's like, hey, Wesley, we don't have time to talk through this right now. Yeah. And I'm like, oh no, but we need to talk through it because we need to, it'll make the next filming session better. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And then like we always come to a resolution, but we've had times before where we like, I wouldn't call it fighting necessarily.
But we talk through something for like an hour.
And it's not pleasant. Like it's not a pleasant experience. No. But it helps.
Yeah.
It helps, but
it gives you catharsis when you come out on the other side. And I can't imagine where they're not allowed to get that catharsis before they have to do something as intimate as doing a concert together.
And they're not by themselves. Yeah. Like when we're doing this, it's already tense and it's already unpleasant. Yeah. And we're by ourselves in private. Yeah. Imagine like you're not by yourself. We have 5 other people who were very like our closest 5 friends are here. That already is uncomfortable.
Oh, that's
okay,
so
now guess what? Now staff who we like know well but we're not as close to is here.
They're watching
okay,
you
guess
argue.
What? Now we have that formula, but now you have a much tighter time frame and a much more like we can usually figure out ways to push things around and make it still work. They can't push the concert. No. And now guess what? There's also cameras there.
I didn't even think about the aspect of like not just as a criticism, but criticism in front of other people hits so different than criticism when you pull somebody aside and like, hey, this is private. I just want you to like, here's something that I think we could work on together.
But at the same time, I totally get it from V's perspective and from Jin's perspective. I don't even think this is the type of thing where anybody's wrong.
No, I don't think anybody's wrong.
This is just the messiness of being on a team where you're trying to work on something together. Yeah. Like it's just sometimes this stuff's gonna happen. And honestly, it's incredible it doesn't happen like more. I mean, this is a microcosm of why most teams can't function and do what BTS can do.
Because it literally probably happens all the time.
Because the fact that this is significant enough to put out and be like a moment is actually amazing. Yeah. Because this is such a normal human interaction. Mm-hmm. The fact that this isn't like, I mean, to me, this is like sibling or familial bickering, you know? Yeah. It's like, okay, cool, we're gonna squash it, everything's good. Mm-hmm. But the fact that it feels like it's this significant actually shows how like amazing their teamwork is.
I know.
90 and how good their problems. And look how they dealt with it. I thought they dealt with it in like, and the fact that Jin and V were both able to still like say, okay, cool, squash it. We can talk about this later.
Yeah.
Shows that they're both very mature also.
So
That's
mature.
something I struggle with a
It's
lot.
so
Is
hard
like
to do that.
I have a really hard time pushing things when I'm upset.
So like if one of us has our feelings, usually it's both of us have our feelings hurt a little bit. If we're gonna get into a little tassel.
My love bucket is empty.
Our love buckets are empty. If it's before we film, then it's like we have to work through it because otherwise it'll and it's good and healthy that we work through whatever issue it is because otherwise we're gonna show up on camera
it doesn't work
and you're
right.
gonna see us and we're gonna have like weird body language
Yeah.
towards each other and we're not gonna get along as well and we're not gonna be our happy normal cheerful self.
Because you can't when we're doing reactions, it's like we don't have the time to filter anything.
Yeah.
So like if we're in a bad space and like if I'm upset or something, then my reaction is gonna suck.
Yeah, we always have to work through whatever it is. If something happens before we film, I can't imagine putting that on standby and being like, I have to go out in front of 50,000 people and act like nothing's wrong and act like I'm happy and act like I'm like excited to be here and I have a great relationship with every BTS member at this exact moment in time. Like that would be really, really hard. I can't imagine. I'm just trying to project our own experience onto it. And I can't imagine.
Hard.
And I'm glad they shared this though.
Yeah.
Like it makes them feel even more real.
솔직히 저희는 이제 멤버들 하나하나 다
And don't get us wrong, we don't fight all the time. It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
But I mean, in the nature of working together, every once in a while, there's going to be something small that
And
comes up.
sometimes it's so stupid too.
어떻게 보면 진짜 어린애거든요.
Tell me something 그저 묻어두게 이젠 버틸 수가 없는 걸
그리고 이제 이 노래가 제 잘못으로 인해 누군가가 이렇게 상처받고 약간 그랬어가지고
They put this song in right after the fight.
그걸 제가 주었다는 죄책감으로 인해서 좀 약간 많이 상처받고 좀 약간 제가 고통받는 이야기를 가사에 썼는데요.
널 지켜주지 못했어 더 깊이 상처만 깊어져
비공개 오디션 볼 때 방탄소년단의 팔도강산이라는 그런
맞아.
저는 이 그룹은 이제 3인조로 힙합 가수로 데뷔하는 사람들이구나라고 해서 왔는데 제가 이 그룹 됐었어요.
일반 사람이 생각할 수 없는 걸 생각해요. 가차원이라고 하는
That's
되게
so true.
이상한 행동인 아니야?
That's the most accurate description of me.
묘할 수 없는 바보.
His brain is different than everyone else's, man.
그때 나한테 왜 그랬어?
Whoa, that was a cool.
안에서 제가
multimedia?
처음으로 이제 드라마라는 이제 그런 분야에 제가
Which is crazy.
갔었거든요. 거기에서부터 약간 부담감이 많이 컸었어요. 잘해야겠다. 솔직히 저는 제가 스트레스 받는다는 걸 별로 표출하는 걸 별로 안 좋아했거든요.
I can't imagine doing both at the
그래서
same
얘기를 안
time.
했어요.
How do you fit that in his schedule?
처음으로 그때 지면 둘인데 엄청 울면서 한번 얘기를 한 게 있었어요. 한 번 다 같이만 얘기를 했었어요. 돌아오는 말은 그거밖에 없어요. 우리가 도와줄 수는 없다. 근데 진짜 너에게 힘을 줄 수는 있다. 저는 그게 진짜 가장 큰 위로거든요.
I'm sorry my brother 숨겨도 감춰도 지워지지 않아 Are you calling me a sinner? 무슨 말이 더 있겠어
그때부터 이제 제가 하나 깨달았던 게 뭐냐면
Oh, like
끙끙 앓면서
beating yourself up?
혼자 이겨내려고는 하지는 말아야겠구나. 이게 멤버가 있는 거구나라는 걸 느꼈어요.
His range is nuts.
these individual, I always get so blown away by how much wider his range is than he sticks to for the BTS song specifically.
He is incredible.
It's incredible. And it's crazy how, I don't know what the right musical term would be for it, but like his voice has a very characteristic tone or something.
That lady
that's
nailed
soulful.
it. There's no better word to describe
It's
it.
crazy to me though, because it sounds like, I can't, whatever that tonality or uniqueness of V's voice, it goes all the way across the range.
Yeah.
Like you can hear it when he's singing very low for BTS songs, and you can hear that same tonality when he's singing very high.
Yeah.
He's got such a cool voice.
It's amazing.
It's so cool. I wish I could describe it better. But I got a C- in understanding music, so don't. I almost failed that whole class too. Like I almost tanked that entire class because I know I've learned about it. There's like there's like 6 different variables for a sound.
Yeah.
And I don't remember them, and I almost failed that. I think I got a C- out of pity because I think she didn't want me to have to come back. I think she was like, "Get this kid out of my class. He sucks. Give
At
him a
least
C-."
you took one. I have no musical education.
I mean,
다 스위트로 좀 모이자. 그래 그렇게 하자. 얼른 하고 우선은 좀 빠지자 얘들아.
it's better to be a blank slate than to learn it wrong, you know?
북한의 대답이라고 한정 짓고 말씀을 드리자면 일단 팀의 중요성에 대해서 굉장히 많이 강조를 해요. 회사 문화 자체가 팀이 없으면 개인도 없다. 싸움을 두려워하지 마라라고 얘기를 해요. 싸움을 두려워하지 말고 화가 나면 싸우고 주먹 다짐이라도 좋다.
Well, you have to remember we're talking about a gang of like 7 high school boys.
Yeah.
It's or high school, college age boys. That's very different management than you're gonna.
It's crazy that like it's okay to fight because
I think that's so healthy.
I think it is healthy to be like, hey, you guys need to like work through your issues. If you're upset, like just work it out. Versus like no fighting, and repress everything.
Yeah.
I think suppressing everything is like probably one of like the worst things you can do in any relationship because if you don't work through those issues, that tension just builds and builds and builds, and then it's gonna come out. Like you can't suppress it forever.
And ironically, like that was something that I learned when I started to date Stephanie when we were 18.
Oh yeah,
that was
true.
something that I was like, no, if we're fighting, it means things are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can't fight because if we fight, that means that things are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you said like, no, that means that it's good because we're interacting and we're engaging and we're trying to fix things. Because I didn't want to. And
That's
now
right, you were very conflict averse. I forgot about that. That was a long time ago.
And Steffi was like, I'm turning this faucet on. I was like, I'm not turning it off. And now, because now I'm the one who's like, no, we need to work through this. Otherwise, it means that we're repressing and something's wrong. Because I'm a creature of extremes, so I'm like.
I think it also very much comes from like how you were raised and what your upbringing was, whether that was encouraged in your home or whether you were told like, no, like that's not acceptable.
That's not acceptable, yeah.
Versus like in my household, we had like shouting matches, and not that was acceptable either.
I think
but
there's a balance.
Like,
there's a balance for sure, and there's like bad fighting and good fighting, and I would say 99.99% of the time, it's like we are both working towards a solution, which was what I would call quote unquote good fighting. I don't even like those words because I would think of it as like intense collaborative discussion.
Right.
But then there's like not productive.
Yeah.
When there's just anger, and that almost never.
No, because as long as you deal with the little things ahead of time, then you usually don't get those like big bombs later.
Yeah.
And I think that's so healthy of them to encourage that.
싸움을 두려워하기 때문에 우리 갈등이 커지는 거다라고 가르치고요. 단 해결은 7이 같이 하는 거다. 싸움은 둘이 해도 해결은 7명이 같이 해라.
저의 회사에서 얘기를 할게요. 전 형을 일부러 무시를 해본 적이 단 한 번도 없어요.
That's so rough that everybody else has to sit there because like being another person in the room with other people fighting is uncomfortable, number one, and number two, like not taking sides would be really, really hard, or feeling like defensive in front of other people.
One of my toxic traits. If you guys still like us after this video, I love you, by the way. I'm like, I don't think I sound like a particularly nice person right now, but
you're very human though. Like these are
it's
things
true.
that happen.
I'm just trying to be honest.
Every once in a while, it's not like we're fighting all the time.
I love Steffi. I love to spend time with Steffi. I would rather fight with Steffi than spend time with almost anybody else. As weird as and fight as in conductive, productive, intense, positive discussion towards a goal. But I did not the other. which almost never happens. I hate that one. That one's horrible.
We don't really ever
almost
do that.
never. Like
yeah.
at maybe once every couple years, and I know it because I hate it
And
so
you
much.
remember it.
I remember it, but one of my toxic things is that like I will become so much more intransient when I'm in front of other people out of my own pride.
Yes.
Like my pride, my negative pride will like I will no longer be able to humbly admit when I have something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
When there's somebody else in the room, suddenly then I want to be like, no.
Yeah.
Even when I know I'm wrong, I'll want to, and I'll
lock down.
Yeah, I'll want to lock down and be like, I can't show weakness in front of other people.
I think most people do that. That's why to me this specific dynamic is so interesting, and it makes sense because it's like a team. But I you know what's interesting? I wonder if this is cultural because like remember we were watching the K-dramas and when there's a discussion, the whole family gets involved in it.
Can you tell me which show you're thinking of specifically?
I was thinking about the Queen of Tears.
Queen.
Right?
Oh,
Like,
okay, yeah.
Tribals,
The tribal family.
right? Like the whole family unit is going to partake in that conversation and debate and be very much like, you guys are having an argument. This is a family problem. We're going to solve it together. Versus, I feel like, and maybe at least as our household, it's more like, hey, the parents are having a fight. We're going to solve it together. The kids aren't involved in solving that problem, right? Or I wasn't really involved in solving my parents' problems.
Yeah.
So it's just, I wonder if there's a cultural aspect there too. I don't know. Let us know if you know more than we do.
무시하고 서로 나를 막 무시하고 이런 사이도 아닐 거라고 생각을 하고.
진짜 아까는 다들 진짜 아까 스태프들 막 분위기 진짜 장난 아니었거든요.
서로 이야기 안 하고 있지만 분명 미안해 할 거라 생각해. 공연 한 2시간 반 동안 그 생각밖에 안 났을걸? 2013년 6월에 데뷔했던 방탄소년단이랑 2017년에 지금 현재 투어하고 있는 방탄소년단이랑 존중, 리스펙
It ruins the show for them
이런
too.
것들이
Like the memory of it.
친해질수록
Yeah.
필요하다고 생각을 하긴 요즘 들어 들더라. 그런 생각이.
누구 잘못이 중요한 게 아닌 것 같아요. 뭐 다들 잘못을 해. 어쨌든 둘 다 팀에 대해서 상당히 지금 공연에 대해서 상당히 부정적인 영향을 줬잖아. 어떤 식으로든 간에. 그거는 진짜 풀어나지 못하잖아. 어쨌든 좀 더 물러날 줄도 알아야 된다고 나는 생각을 하거든. 그건 너가 지닌 게 아니고 팀한테 양보하는 거라고 생각해. 그 무대에 관련한 건 내일 한번 정리를 해보자.
That's so smart to not try to hash it out right now, I think.
차라리 다행이다. 무대 때문에 뭐 먹을 거
Bananas?
왜 네가 더 먹어? 그거 하나 남은 걸 가지고 그걸 형이 걸 째째하게.
우리 옛날에 먹었다고 많이 했는데.
야 바나나 던졌잖아.
허명이 나 그때
다 먹어라 이 새끼야.
나 먹으라고 던졌어. 나 그때 솔직히 좀 충격이었어.
이 멤버들에 대해서 제가 감동하는 부분은 굉장히 부끄러운 부분으로 싸움을 해도 마지막엔 일곱이 같이 저한테 쪼르르 옵니다. 하기 너무 창피한 걸로 싸움을 해도 결국은 같이 와서 저희가 이런 문제를 갖고 둘이 싸웠는데 이렇게 해서 이렇게 해결했습니다라고 얘기를 하고 그런 부분들이 이 팀의 친화력을 혹은 시너지를 강하게 만들고 있지 않나
You see,
이렇게
even there at
생각합니다.
the end, they still stayed to like kind of talk themselves.
I'm glad.
I'm always impressed when they just sit down and play instruments.
The only thing I'm a little bit bummed about is like I remember there was a little bit more catharsis than when it happened in the docuseries where they showed V.
They did,
and
yeah.
they showed Jen kind of like I love you, bro. Like, well, we're cool.
They
and
cut
now I'm
off
like,
early.
I'm
I don't
like,
feel like catharsis.
But we know what happened. Like
I feel
they showed like Jen coming over to me. I know.
방탄 앞으로 남은
they didn't
투어
give us the
잘합시다.
time.
더 흔들어. 야, 형 이거 잘 안 터지면 형 이거 잘 안 터지면 형 때문에 잘 안 되는 거야. 맞고 더 흔들어.
You got cheers weekly. Why did they do that with subtitles?
Jared's outfit is intense today.
샴페인 터뜨릴 리가 있냐? 마시기도 가까운데. 간다. 가자.
Whoa.
저희는 장점이 아무리 힘들고 바쁘고 피곤하더라도 밤에 모여서 얘기를 하고
고쳐줬으면 하는 바람들이 이제 그 전날에 다 끝났어요.
Oh, here we go.
우리 사이를
We just needed to wait a
갈라지고 막
second.
그런 건 아닌 것 같아요.
항상 그런 모습들을 보면서 우리는 무슨 일이 있더라도 같이 가겠구나
Stronger
하는
the next
생각이
day.
어느 순간 서로 믿게 되고
비주얼이 그닥 좋지 않다.
우리 어제 비주얼 먹었냐?
야 고기 냄새 정말 좋은데?
그래서
오! 먹었다.
I don't understand how they eat meat right off the grill.
It's
Like,
so
isn't it hot? I remember this.
방탄소년단을 보면 참 뿌듯하지만 동시에 굉장히 좀 절망스럽다. 저 7명의 멤버가 저렇게 결합했을 때 이런 시너지가 날 거라는 거를 우리가 데뷔 전에 몰랐는데
Yeah, for real. That's the most
앞으로는
insane
잘
thing to
만들
me.
수 있는 걸까? 방법론을 모르는 사람들.
That's great. How can we make another group? I don't even know. We just got lucky. I'm so glad that I could just let loose and have a pool party like
멤버들도
this.
정말 나를 움직이게 하는 가장 큰 요인인 것 같아요. 이 사람들이랑 같이 무언가를 하면 즐겁고 뭔가 많은 것들을 할 수 있다는 그런 생각들을 하는 게 뭔가 나를 더 움직이게 할 수 있는 것 같아요. 단순히 옆에 있는 것만으로도 힘이 되는 것도 있고 정말 이 사람들은 나를 움직이게 하는 그 자체인 것 같기도 하고요.
So it's crazy to me how many project editor draws B-roll from.
Yeah. And some of them we've seen now, which is cool.
I'm pretty sure that was like, that was like Bon Voyage. That was Bon Voyage. That was Summer Package and docu-series.
Yeah, a lot
like
of
all cut together. I think.
옷을 자꾸 고르시고 있길래 왜요? 뭐 있어요? 아니 너희들 빌보드 가는 것 때문에
Wow,
잠시만
that's so
뭐라고요?
cool.
아니 빌보드 가는 것 때문에 에?
You done did it. You opened Pandora's box. We don't play games.
Oh man, did racism ensue?
그냥 이 모든 것들이 그냥
It said North Korea in there too. Did you used to read those tweets?
No, we're gonna
당연하게
see it next
생각 안
time,
하지만
right? But
이제 저 다른 목표들이 생긴 거죠.
And the Billboard Music Award goes to
oh, Pied Piper. Oh, cause we shouldn't. But Pied Piper's such a good name.
It is.
That's such a good
song
name.
that should play when I enter a room is
movie.
Jariam was like, what is happening?
right? Yeah. Producing beats. Yeah. And you're playing Overwatch. Yes. Everyone doing their jobs. Who is your favorite boy band?
NSYNC.
NSYNC.
Dirty Pop.
Rap Monster, I'm proud of you. I was so impressed.
Who is the messiest roommate? You.
Manhattan is a shopping area. Who wants to shop in Manhattan like this?
It's
Maybe
so
you
weird.
get kicked out of the shop.
What's your most prized possessions? Phone. He said money. What's your good luck charm?
Yeah, I have. Oh,
You have one?
it's my face.
This is a great interview. We haven't seen that interview. That was funny.
We've seen some of those interviews in compilations.
Yeah.
But we haven't watched the specific interviews. But I always think it's so funny how Arm is like simultaneously so amused and so like
flabbergasted.
and so like at the same time.
That was great. Who is the messiest roommate? You.
Especially because he's the one that's getting all the questions through him.
I know.
And so he's like, okay. After all this, y'all gonna roast me? Okay. That was fun, man.
That's fun.
I
watch
love
that
this
interview.
series so
If there's
much.
more to that interview, or if that was all the questions, obviously we don't need to watch it. But if there's more, I'd love to see it.
Or
Anyway,
if there's like a compilation of some of their press run.
yes.
That would be so fun.
Some of their funnier ones.
Because sometimes we do the clips, and I think they're so funny. But I feel like when we get to see the entirety
They're
and
even
the
funnier.
flow, it's even funnier because it builds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's the thing that gets me the most is when there's like situational things, and it's like it keeps on getting funnier to me.
It's just the way their brains work. What's your favorite? What song would play when you went to a room? Da 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 da. I was just like. He had to wait for the whole thing to say before he joined it. He's just like, that was not what they were asking.
I would have thought I don't know, like mic drop or something.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you?
Drop it like it's hot or something like that.
Or like fire or something.
Getting hot in
I
here.
wouldn't have thought like the music. That was such a funny answer. But we love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of our reactions, we have all of the tour docuseries on our Patreon.
Yes.
If you want to go through and watch our reactions in totality, Patreon.com/Wes and Steph. It's $5 a month, and we're also currently reacting to. We've got all the summer packages.
Finished all the summer packages. We're about to start the winter packages.
And we've got JK's new documentary as well.
Complete over there.
Which is
and
that was
All of Us
really
Are Dead
fun.
is done over there if you like K-dramas. And we're watching Queen of Tears and Alice in Borderland.
Which is a J-drama that was also very highly voted. So.
It's giving Squid Games. No? As far as like puzzle
with no spoilers.
Games, yeah,
but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get it's a very
and also the same anxiety and stress.
But we love you guys. That link will be in the description down below, and we'll see you next time. So
bye.